So hello, everyone, and welcome. Good to see everybody, as always. I'm hoping that I'm talking tonight about what the three natures and the teachings on the storehouse consciousness and karma have to do with our training. So I'm hoping to take these teachings from the Yogacara tradition out of the realm of the philosophical and into the realm of our everyday practice. So we'll see what happens. I want to start by quoting Ben Connolly, who, as you know, wrote the book Vasubandhu's Three Natures, because he makes promises to us, and we could, challenge him to make sure that those promises get kept. He says this teaching, the teaching of the three natures, is intended to crack through every hardened way of seeing things the mind and heart can make. It is to turn the mundane into the wondrous, the tiny into the vast, the infinite into the immediate, the known into the inconceivable, and anguish into joy, peace, and compassion. I think I'll read that again. This teaching is intended to crack through every hardened way of seeing things the mind and heart can make. It is to turn the mundane into the wondrous, the tiny into the vast, the infinite into the immediate, the known into the inconceivable, and anguish into joy, peace, and compassion. And later on, he says that these teachings disarms what drives us into the fires of desire, aversion, anger, and anxiety. Disarms what drives us into desire, aversion, anger, and anxiety. So just put that on the back burner and let it sit there and see what, if anything, comes up for you around all of that. The first thing that strikes me about this teaching is they point us towards a radical not knowing. So when we see through the imaginary nature, when we see that everything has this imaginary nature, everything has qualities and characteristics that we make up or impute to it or to give it reality. When we see through this, or when we understand that this is what we do and how we see our world and how we negotiate our world, what we come to is not knowing. We don't know. We've made it all up. Every person, as I said on Monday night, every person is a mystery. Everything is a mystery. And ultimately, every person or thing is unknown. But to me, it's not just that it is unknown, it's just that it's that it can't be known. We actually never fully grasp the full reality of anything. And it doesn't matter how hard we try, or how long we study something, or how much depth we put into it. We can never actually know something, know what it is. It's constantly changing, it's infinite, and it's a mystery. And for me, what this makes possible is infinite love. Because not knowing opens us into something much larger than what we think we're seeing. Knowing that we don't know, we can throw our arms open wide to everything, to everyone, to every opinion, to every ideal. Not knowing opens the way for embracing all things in irrepressible love. How different would our lives be if we approached the world in this way? This is a practice, and it takes time. It's something that we come to over years and years and years of approaching it each minute of our lives, each second of our lives, and allowing things to open up and to expand. Knowing that everyone and everything is a mystery doesn't mean that we can do anything we want, or that anything that someone else does is okay. Doesn't mean it's all okay. It means that we are less self-concerned, less sure that we've got it right. It means that we want to treat everyone else equally. We don't always have to be wondering what others think of us or how we are doing. We can and do and must include everyone. Knowing, thinking that we know, takes a lot of energy. Not knowing takes very little energy. We can relax. We can rest. We don't have to hang on to ideas and opinions. We can stop clinging. And believe me, clinging takes a lot of energy. So when we stop imputing essences and things to people, all affliction or suffering is alleviated. When we stop imputing essences to things and people, all suffering is alleviated. This is what is needed in order for us to be peacemakers in the world. If we wish to be peacemakers, then we must give up buying into fixed imaginings. This leads us directly into inclusivity. Not knowing can loosen up our minds so that we can include multiculturalism and diversity. We need not be limited by our personal experience. This involves not just seeing through the imaginary nature, but also recognizing the dependent nature. Recognizing the dependent nature, we understand deeply that we are connected to all things and to everyone around us and far from us. This leads us directly into a vision that is non-dual. We let go of the split between self and other, subject and object. We let go of imagining subject and object because we see the connectivity between all things. Connolly says that to see the world in a purely kind and joyful way, we must let go of the split, see through the split between self and other, subject and object that our minds create. By doing this, we are offered a way of being like the Buddha, calm no matter what came to him, offering what would help without tiring. And I think of, the Buddha spoke with helped prostitutes. He helped Angulimala. He wasn't frightened by him, and he didn't give up on him, etc. So can we be calm and non-judgmental no matter what is before us and offer what would help? And if we can do that, we don't tire out, as Connolly suggests. And remember that everything we do affects everything else. Hence, we have agency. Now, we have agency first because we realize that we're free to create. It's all imaginary. We can make up anything. And I'm being a little flippant there, but I hope you take the point. what we imagine doesn't have to stay as it is. We can imagine and create a whole new world. But we also have agency because of karma and the storehouse consciousness that Andy talked about on Monday. In any given moment, we can be a victim of our conditioning and of the karmic patterns or seeds stored in the storehouse consciousness. If we've been angry in the past, we will be patterned or conditioned to get angry again. However, we can choose to make a different choice. And this is critical. If we choose to act kindly with care, we change the situation in we begin to repattern our own conditioning, and we also change the world. It's imperative that we recognize that in each moment we have a choice in how we act or respond, and that choice is critical. What we do always matters in every second. We can always choose to act beneficially as best we can, because we can't always see the outcomes of our choices, but we can always choose to act beneficially as best we can, and we can make a difference. We should never underestimate the power of the difference we can make. In fact, this is a legitimate way in which we actually have power. Perhaps it would be better to call it empowerment. Empowerment. We can undercut our conditioning. We have the power. We are empowered to contribute to what will be imagined. Remember, precisely because things are of an imaginary nature, our experience is always confirmed, but so is the experience of others, and both are imaginary. Now, Connolly says somewhere that transforming consciousness transforms structures. I think he's actually quoting bell hooks, who makes this suggestion that, it would be nice if in our practice we could transform consciousness and thereby transform structures. Well, in fact, that's inevitable. If we transform consciousness, we will transform structures. So each small thing that we do addresses systemic problems. And I think it's really important that we not doubt this. When we fully live dependent nature, we transform our consciousness, and this transforms racism, for example, systemic racism or systemic poverty, one micro action at a time, not microaggression, micro beneficence, if that's a word, at a time. So again, I would ask, how are we going to plant our life? How are we going to imagine our life? Intentionality is essential, and this is where we really have the opportunity to be intentional. We must be clear about our intention in every moment, and meditation builds muscle, and the precepts give us guidance, guidelines. But don't ever imagine that we do anything alone, on our own. This is the source of affliction, imagining that we do things on our own. It's to forget the dependent nature. The dependent nature, remember, is the mysterious nature. Never forget the mystery. I also want to say something about emotions here and training with emotions. Karma isn't cleansed until it's directly experienced. And directly experiencing our emotions is how we cleanse karma. This is how we directly see the fruit of karma. The emotion that's arising is the fruit of karma. We must become close and clear and intimate with our emotions. Close and clear and intimate. This is what exhausts the energy of the karma. Exhausting the energy of karma is crucial because this is how the afflictions diminish and disappear, and how the mind and heart become clear. And being close and clear and intimate with our emotions means we really have to feel them. Put down the story, put down the conceptual framework, put down all of that around the emotion, and just feel what it feels like in your body. Feel what it's doing to your whole being. When we do this, we plant seeds of compassion. Just being with the emotion is enough. It plants the seeds of compassion. Directly experiencing the emotions is a compassionate act, which grows more compassion. Don't be frightened. Your emotions can't kill you. They can sometimes be overwhelming, and sometimes we have to approach them slowly. That's fine. There's skillful means that we can make use of. We can go for a long walk when we need to, etc. But it's a very important aspect of our practice that we do sit within our emotions in this way. And it's important to realize that it can't be bypassed, not if we're doing true practice. But we can approach our emotions, as I just tried to suggest, with care and respect, slowly, without rushing or insisting on all at once. So take care of your emotions, love them. Now, there is a little news in here, and that is that life is always relational. You know, the dependent nature, relationship with everything. So that means that there is no suffering anywhere that we can be separate from. The good news is that there's also no joy anywhere that we can be separate from. And I find this very sobering to consider. In the end, we are responsible for the whole of it. And again, what we do matters. Finally, I would say, remember that we are already Buddha. The complete realized nature is real. Ultimately, to me at least, it's more mysterious than the imaginary nature or the dependent nature, more mysterious than either of them. We are not broken. We are already liberated. If we function from that place, where will it take us? Now, I think I'll close simply by rereading the quote that I read from Connolly at the beginning when I first started talking. And I'm going to read the two sections backwards. So first, these teachings disarm what drives us into the fires of desire, aversion, anger, and anxiety. These teachings are intended to crack through every hardened way of seeing things the mind and heart can make. It is to turn the mundane into the wondrous, the tiny into the vast, the infinite into the immediate, the known into the inconceivable, and anguish into joy, peace, and compassion. Thank you for your kindness.